suspend, dissolve, and dismiss principal officers of IPOB reps exclusively with our supreme leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That authority cannot be delegated away, usurped, or vetoed by any committee, individual, or group. The command and control structure remains exactly as established. Authority flows from Onyendu through the Directorate of State and down every recognized structure of our movement. That principle shall never again be compromised. Accordingly, let this serve as a formal notice to all concerned. Any individual or group that forcefully presents itself as the leader of IPOB purports to exercise powers it does not possess, or use the name, identity, insignia, or structure of IPOB for fraudulent or unauthorized purposes, does so entirely at its own risk.
He further highlighted some of the immediate priorities of the Fourth Administration of the Directorate of State to include restoration of Radio Biafra, among others.
We must also never forget our brothers and sisters who remained in various detention centers and prisons across Nigeria because of this struggle. Our legal team has commenced identifying individuals who have remained in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS, for extended periods, as well as those held in various correctional facilities.
Nwaọgụ also assured that his administration will continue to provide weekly updates regarding the legal proceedings involving the supreme leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
The news coming out of the Indigenous People of Biafra, also known as IPOB, could mark another important moment in the group's history. A new leader has stepped forward with promises of unity, transparency, and a fresh direction for the movement. But beyond the announcement itself, many people are asking what these changes could actually mean for IPOB members, supporters, and the ongoing legal and political issues surrounding the organization. According to statements released by the group's new leadership, Mazi Chris Nwaọgụ has been named the head of IPOB's Fourth Directorate of State, commonly referred to as the DOS. In his first global address to supporters, he described his appointment as the beginning of what he called a new era, promising to rebuild trust, strengthen internal unity, and focus on key priorities that he believes have been neglected in recent years. Before we continue, if you enjoy balanced updates that explain the full story without unnecessary drama, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future updates. And as always, feel free to share your respectful opinions in the comment section because your views are always welcome. Now, let's take a closer look at what was actually announced. For those who may not be familiar with the internal structure of IPOB, the Directorate of State is regarded as one of the movement's central administrative bodies. Over the years, different officials have overseen various responsibilities within the organization, especially as its leader, Nnamdi Kanu, remains in detention while his legal case continues before the courts. Reports indicate that Mazi Chris Nwaọgụ, who is based in the United States, has now assumed leadership of the Fourth Directorate of State following recent internal changes within the movement. In his first worldwide address, he emphasized that his administration intends to move away from internal disagreements and instead focus on rebuilding confidence among supporters. One of the strongest themes throughout his speech was unity. According to him, the movement can only achieve its goals if members work together rather than against one another. He argued that internal divisions have weakened the organization over time and stated that his administration wants to replace what he described as confusion and internal conflict with discipline, accountability, and cooperation. Whether these promises will translate into real changes remains something that observers will be watching closely over the coming months. One of the biggest announcements from his address concerns Radio Biafra. For many long-time IPOB supporters, Radio Biafra has played an important role as a communication platform over the years. It has often been described by supporters as one of the movement's primary channels for sharing information and reaching audiences across different countries. However, the platform has remained inactive for quite some time. Now, Nwaọgụ says restoring Radio Biafra has become one of his administration's highest priorities. According to him, the station has remained silent for too long, and he believes bringing it back will provide what he described as the authentic voice of the movement. At this stage, however, no official timeline has been publicly announced regarding when or how the platform could return to operation. Many supporters will likely be watching for further announcements before drawing conclusions. Another major issue addressed during his speech relates to detained IPOB members. Over the years, several individuals associated with the movement have faced arrest or detention under different circumstances. Nwaọgụ says improving legal support for these individuals will become another important focus of his administration. According to his statement, the group's legal team is reviewing existing cases with the aim of seeking the release of members who are currently in Nigerian custody. He did not provide specific numbers regarding those affected or indicate when any legal outcomes might be expected. As with any legal matter, the final decisions remain within the jurisdiction of the courts. This announcement has drawn attention because legal representation and welfare have remained major concerns among many supporters of the movement. Beyond legal matters, Nwaọgụ also spoke about the Eastern Security Network, commonly known as ESN. The ESN was established by IPOB several years ago and has remained one of the most discussed aspects of the organization. In his address, Nwaọgụ said his administration intends to strengthen welfare support for ESN members. He did not go into extensive detail about what those welfare programs would include, but he suggested that improving support systems would become one of his administration's responsibilities. It is worth noting that the ESN has been the subject of various allegations and security concerns over the years, while IPOB has made its own public responses regarding those issues. As with many aspects of the broader situation, different parties have presented differing accounts. Another issue receiving significant attention is financial transparency. Money has often become one of the most sensitive topics within organizations of every kind, especially movements that depend on donations from supporters around the world. Recognizing this, Nwaọgụ promised that all financial contributions would be managed transparently. He stated that every contribution belongs to IPOB and should be handled responsibly. According to him, accountability regarding finances will become one of the guiding principles of his administration. Supporters who contribute financially may view this promise as an attempt to increase confidence in how resources are managed going forward. Whether new reporting mechanisms or financial disclosures will be introduced remains to be seen. Perhaps one of the most closely watched parts of his speech involved Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu remains one of the central figures in the movement, and developments surrounding his legal proceedings continue to attract significant public interest both within Nigeria and among supporters abroad. Nwaọgụ promised that his administration would provide weekly updates regarding Kanu's legal case. According to him, these updates would be based on verified information rather than speculation or rumors. This announcement could be particularly important because misinformation often spreads quickly during high-profile legal proceedings. Regular official updates, if consistently provided, could help reduce uncertainty among supporters seeking reliable information. Another major topic discussed during the address was the recent leadership restructuring inside IPOB. Not everyone has agreed with the recent changes. Some critics have questioned whether appointments made while Nnamdi Kanu remains in detention should be considered legitimate. Responding directly to those concerns, Nwaọgụ defended the leadership transition. According to him, the appointments were lawfully made by Nnamdi Kanu, whom he referred to as the movement's supreme leader. He argued that detention does not automatically remove leadership authority. In one of the most quoted parts of his address, he stated that authority cannot be considered valid when it benefits individuals and suddenly become invalid when accountability is involved. That statement appears to reflect his position that the recent appointments should be accepted as legitimate within the movement. Of course, not everyone necessarily shares that interpretation. Leadership transitions within organizations, especially those experiencing internal disagreements, often generate differing opinions among members and observers alike. How supporters respond to this new leadership over time may ultimately determine whether the promised unity becomes a reality. Another notable message from the new DOS head was directed toward individuals who claim to represent IPOB. He warned that people falsely presenting themselves as official representatives of the movement could face legal consequences. According to his statement, only recognized officials should speak on behalf of the organization. This appears to be part of a broader effort to establish clearer leadership structures and reduce confusion over who officially represents the movement. Observers say internal disagreements over representation have occasionally created uncertainty in the past, making this announcement particularly significant within the context of the organization's ongoing restructuring. Throughout the speech, one consistent message continued to emerge: unity. Nearly every major announcement returned to the idea that supporters around the world should work together rather than remain divided. According to Nwaọgụ, rebuilding unity is essential before any of the movement's other objectives can be successfully pursued. Whether supporters accept that message will likely become clearer over the coming weeks and months. From a broader perspective, this leadership announcement arrives during a period when public attention remains focused on several issues connected to IPOB. These include ongoing court proceedings involving Nnamdi Kanu, discussions about the organization's future direction, and wider conversations about security and political developments in parts of southeastern Nigeria. Because of this context, any leadership change naturally attracts significant public interest. It is also important to remember that announcements made by organizations represent their stated intentions. The practical implementation of those plans often depends on many factors, including legal processes, organizational capacity, and future developments that may unfold over time.